So again, my name is Pete Musso, and I was invited to share some information about what's been happening at DeSmet Jesuit relative to our Ignatian Global Scholars Certificate Program. And I think as many of you might be experiencing, this is our spring recruiting season. And we are really involved in recruiting our current freshmen and our sophomores into our program. And that recruitment started in February, and it'll be ending tomorrow. So before I do that, I wanted to say something that's important in our work, and I think it's important to say to all of us. And that is, I am reminded every day that as the standard bearer, or one of them for this program, it is my role in the school to recognize and continuously communicate the expansive reach of our program into the school and into life beyond the school, and always try to marry the why or the aims of our program to the preferences that the Society of Jesus has for us, always. So once again, our recruiting began early in January and into February, and it's continues today. And here's a quick snapshot of where we are. I just want to say, I think the success of our program is as a direct result of the fact that we are very, very action-based, right? And our kids appreciate action and seeing results of their actions. So we're constantly saying, here's what you said you were going to do. Let's do it. And look what you've done. And I think that's important. So we currently have 55 Ignatian Global Scholars who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And today we have 9 seniors who are graduating with the distinction of being Ignatian Global Scholars. Tomorrow, each day, during the day, tomorrow, each of the 9 seniors are going to give their Insignis project, which is their final reflection and evaluation capstone piece, where they present to a panel of faculty, staff, board members, and make a case for their ongoing work as Ignatian Global Scholars. The presentation that they have to make is 20 minutes, followed by 20 minutes of conversation with the adults in the room. And this is the end piece in order to complete the program. In other words, as the students who are in our program get closer and closer to graduating, that they know that they have to complete this Insignis project, which in fact all of our seniors have to complete. The only difference with these 9 is that they complete this project through that global lens and that Ignatian Global Lens experience. Our faculty team of leaders are also the ones that are hearing those presentations. So that's going on. So we have a prayer this morning from a global scholar. We have presentations coming up tomorrow. Last year at this time, we had 1 senior earn the distinction of being a global scholar. And this year we have 9. So what else is happening? 2 of our students are taking the Seattle U Global Ed course for college credit. One's a current junior and rising leader, and one's a current sophomore. Last week, we had Culture Fest, which was an evening where students, parents, faculty, staff got to experience different cultures and walk around and have passports and travel around the space to talk and listen to others. Our Care for Our Common Home Green Team shirts just arrived this morning. Actually, one's hanging on a nail, but these are what they look like. I don't know. Right? To prepare for Earth Day, which is next week. These are shirts that are manufactured with 100% recyclable materials. Some of our faculty have been meeting with external groups to organize trips. We are planning a trip to Burundi, Africa. We heard from one of our alum who's based in Washington, D.C., about a trip to El Salvador. We're planning a trip to Pine Ridge. We just had students return from Spain. Earlier in November, we had a group go to the border in El Paso, Texas, and learn about the issue of immigration. We did that on the day after the election. So we're doing so many new things, right? And we have an expanded faculty team. Whereas 3 years ago, our team was one person. It was David Cabrera, who was the director of global ed. And that's a heavy carry for one person. Today, we have a team that's expanded to 4. Myself, the assistant director for global ed, and our green team moderator. So that's going from 1 to 4. Our programming is rooted in the 4 UAPs, and we are action-based, right? As I mentioned earlier, this is ideal for kids who are all boys and frankly, get lots of satisfaction in action and results. We're tapping into that, as I'm sure most of you are as well. So it's in this context that we started our recruiting for next year. And our recruiting really focuses on 3 main foci. Pamphlet and application, a PowerPoint presentation, and student experiential witness. So I want to talk first about the pamphlet. Do I have the ability to share?
You do. Please share, and any links or anything.
How do I do that? How do I, can I just, I guess I can just share from where I am, right?
Yeah.
Can you see that? Or okay. Can you show me how to share?
On the bottom where it says share.
Yes, there we go. Okay. Thank you. All right. Can you see now?
No.
All right. Can you? I'm sharing my screen now. Okay.
We can see your. Yes, we can.
You can see now?
Yes.
All right. So I'm not very tech savvy, as you can tell, but you can still be successful and not be tech savvy. All right, here we go. So this is our Ignatian Global Scholars Certificate Program brochure. And this brochure is made available to all students. It's given out at our recruiting presentations, which I'll talk about in just a minute. It's both distributed in paper and online, and it includes a very simple application within the context of the pamphlet. And when I say simple, what you're looking at is the one side of the pamphlet here, and then if I scroll down, that's the other side, right? There's 2 sides, right? And this right here on the far right-hand side is all students need to do to be considered for the program. They tear off the pamphlet and they deliver it to one of the 4 teachers in our program. There is beauty in simplicity, right? So that's that. That's that pamphlet. One of the other things I want to share with you is our presentation. And can you see that? You can. Okay, very good. Sorry. So there are 3 teachers who are part of the presenting groups who go into all current freshmen and sophomore study halls beginning in February. It might be worth saying that in our schedule, every kid has a study hall embedded into his daily schedule, every kid. So we are hitting every freshman and every sophomore. And we go into those study halls, we pass out the brochures, and then we make this brief presentation about what it's like to be an Ignatian Global Scholar at DeSmet. What we would eventually like to do is have our upperclassmen, our juniors and our seniors, give these presentations. Why? Well, we got a lot of cool kids that are doing this. And it means a lot more to the kids who are hearing the presentation if it's coming from our students. Are we there yet? Nope, we're not. So maybe that's something for next year. Okay. So I'll just run through this very quickly and then take time for questions or cede the floor to somebody else. right? So we have this presentation that everybody hopefully has access to, or Catherine, you can give people access to this. And it really gives an overview of the program. Lots of pictures, we tell stories about all of the kids who are in this program, right? So this is for incoming sophomores and juniors, which are our current freshmen and sophomores, right? We really start out the presentation by talking about the fact that there is something more out there, right? When we walk down the halls at DeSmet, our students know they are part of something bigger because they look at the composites on the walls of all the classes that have come before them, and they realize that while they're important and they think they're number one, actually they're one of many who are continuing to build this community that we have. So we extend that analogy, right, to being a Nation Global Scholar. It is more than just you getting up, coming to school, playing lacrosse, and going home. We are connected. It's bigger than ourselves, right? So we make that connection for them. We talk a little bit about the Jesuit Global Network of Schools. And we talk a lot about how all of us are connected through the apostolic preferences. We all are trying to grow our spirituality. We all should be aware that the decisions we make impact other people and the environment. We all ought to be aware of who's marginalized and excluded in our society, right? So we make that argument, and then we show the map. We show the map. This is where we are in Missouri, in St. Louis, right? We talk about the 3 Jesuit schools in St. Louis, but then we talk about the wider perspective, right? All of the works that the society has in both Canada and the U.S. And then we also talk about the global, this global network of schools. This is big for us. We want the kids to understand that they're part of something bigger. We talk a little bit about the global focus, opportunities to build community and reflection, and kind of we make a sell. Like, this kind of looks good on your high school transcripts. It's not the reason we do it, but it's a nice perk, right? This is the old, I think that's the old one, or is that the new one? Yeah, that's the old certificate that we show, and then we talk a little bit about our global citizen class. Talk about how you can sleep in class. No, you can't sleep in class. This is reflection, right? Talk a little bit about some projects that the kids participate in as part of the anchor class, and then really make it simple for them, right? Really make it simple for them. What's next, right? We ask the students to review the pamphlet with their parents, have conversations with their parents or guardians, tear off the application, and then get it to me. So that's sort of where we are. That's a little bit of information. Maybe it's too much about what we're currently doing. And yeah, I guess that's what I got.
Thank you, Pete, so much. And if those are links that we can have, like the links, if you could put those in the chat, but if they're actual documents, I know you've sent them to me once, but if you don't mind resending, and I will send them out to everybody. Thank you for your generosity in sharing. When I'll send a follow-up email and send to everyone. So those are very helpful. 2 quick points. If you heard Pete say something about a Seattle University course, that is a pilot course that we are, there are about 6 schools piloting it. For next January, we hope to open that up to more schools. So if that's something you're interested, it's for the Global Scholars. It's a college level course. They get three semester credits. I think it's humanities, and it's not an easy course. It's definitely a doable challenge. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll add you to our list when we open it up next year. The logos, Pete had the wonderful JSN. We have logos for Global Scholars, iGEM, whatever. With our new logo, we are going to update those too. So Pete, you're going to have to update, sorry, your beautiful pamphlet and PowerPoint, but I'll send those out as soon as I get those. Before we do questions and all, if you have some, please write them down. I want to pass over and let Tracy share what she has come to share, and then we will have time after that. I'll show you the certificate, how to proceed for getting them, and we will have time for questions because I think there's a lot of good stuff going on. I know there is. So Tracy McFarland she's at Jesuit Dallas. I had put the wrong school in the email, so sorry everyone for that. She's been 25 years at Jesuit, teaches international relations, AP comparative and AP US Gov, co-directs debate. She has a master's in dispute resolution, which I think is very valuable, especially where we are right now. So I'm going to let her just jump in and share her information, what she's working with this ambassadors program and the resources, which I think are completely applicable to all of the Global Scholar projects. So thank you, Tracy.
Of course, I'm so glad to be a part of this conversation and to myself get to learn a little bit more about the Global Scholars program. My academic background is in international relations and comparative politics. My PhD's in that. And so when I began to learn a little bit more about the Global Scholars Program, it really resonated with me. I also love that at DeSmet, they have to verbally defend their capstone project as a debate coach. Here at Jesuit, I think that's great. So I do think that there's a lot of overlap between the work that you all are doing to bring the Global Scholars Program to your schools, and also the work that CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, is doing to try to expand the reach and scope to educators of the materials that they have. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the CFR Education Ambassadors Program and kind of what it's about. And then I'll also share some resources and kind of talk through maybe how some of those resources might be supportive of work that people are doing in their schools with their Global Scholars Program. So the CFR, as some of you may know, is a nonpartisan think tank. And over the last several years, in addition to the work that they do to, testify before Congress, to develop policy documents, they've also made a concentrated effort to expand their educational offerings. And so the Ambassadors Program is a part of that. It has been a very valuable experience for me this year, for a couple of reasons. The first is it's just not to mix my Jesuit organizations, but there's a lot of solidarity in having conversations with other people who are speaking to students and to understand a world. And so I would encourage you, if you're interested, to explore potentially applying for the program. There is an application process, and the program itself has monthly online meetings where each, kind of like this, has a topic for discussion, breakout groups. And, as I mentioned, it's been really, particularly in the current period, has been useful to hear how others are trying to help students to navigate the information and exchanging ideas about process for educating students, and to help students to also understand the kind of multiple perspectives involved in conflicts, international issues, et cetera. So it's been, like I said, it's been a valuable resource for me. And CFR Education has also undertaken pretty comprehensive revamping of a lot of their education resources. And as you think through adjustments to curriculum or how to be supportive of global scholars programs or additional expansions, I think that there is quite a lot that they can provide for you all. For me, at least, one of the most daunting challenges teaching IR and comparative and government is just keeping up on a daily basis with everything that is available. And, so I take my time while I'm blow drying my hair in the morning to kind of contemplate what am I going to do to talk about this. And for me, one of the most daunting challenges is being able to actually execute on the ideas that I have, or, the issues that I know that students might ask me about. And so these resources are particularly useful, I think, to teachers who are looking for kind of ready-made tools and materials to utilize. So I'm also going to share my screen and show you just a little bit of the resources and kind of talk about some of them as well. So like I mentioned, for me, it's a daunting challenge to develop the curriculum, even if I have a good idea or am feeling very motivated to try to help my students. And so CFR has basically, their education has created two sections. One is a learn section and the other is a teach section. In the learn section, which is what we're looking at now, you can see that they've divided by topic, and they have, some pretty expansive things ranging from human rights and inequality to nuclear proliferation. The benefit of these resources, from my experience, is that they provide very good background articles and videos. They also just have some written text. And the benefit for me is I can share with students basically a curated list so that they are, can feel more confident that what they're looking at actually has, some support for it or is well written. I'm trying to help them to avoid the magical Google searches where they say, "Dear Google, provide me all the things that I need to know." And so I have found that by being able to direct them in this way or link particular things for my students, that they are able to access it. One of the other things that I like about the Learn section is it also exposes students to a variety of source types. I think that one of the challenges from my perspective of teaching students in the current period where they've got so much available information is helping them to distinguish that not all information is created equal, and that a source like a newspaper article has a particular intention behind it that perhaps an academic journal article does not. And so by exposing them to different formats and different depth levels of information, I'm hopefully helping them to begin to build in their mind the differences between source types, and hopefully they'll be better information consumers as a result. The next thing that so I use these resources to provide background information to us as assigned readings that supplement whatever textbook I might be using as well. The other thing that I have found especially useful, and I appreciated the emphasis on action in the DeSmet program, because I think that that's very important. And one of the things that I appreciate about CFR is they're trying to give students a sense of what action might look like in the quote unquote real world. And so a lot of their topics also include simulation or mini simulations. And if you've utilized that in any of your own classrooms, you know that that can be a really engaging way for students to have to think about different perspectives, to take on different roles that can help to expand their perspectives beyond what perhaps they thought about an issue. I will admit that sometimes I will assign students roles that I know are exactly the opposite of what they deeply believe about something in order to try to, force it a little bit. But I do think it's also an organic process that they undertake when they are a part of these simulations. And as I mentioned, I'm very excited to try new things in the classroom, and then that meets the reality of time. And so one of the great things about CFR is they have, as a part of simulations, I'll use this mini simulation over the Arctic as an example. They provide an overview, they describe the situation, They also give kind of the different positions, and then they provide additional resources to actually help with student research. Again, the benefit of that is if in this one they're exposed to a very specific think tank, the Arctic Institute, War on the Rocks, which some of you may know is a think tank that compiles a lot of information out of the University of Texas. These are all very useful for students to be able to access that information. And so these mini simulations can be useful. And then I just wanted to also go back and show you, we also have a variety of lesson plans. And the benefit here, I'll use this as an example, is that they actually you kind of from your perspective as a facilitator, what are the kinds of things that you need to know? They give you, you know, how to actually step by step, how to conduct the role play. So particularly as I was first starting to try to integrate simulations, was a part of the ambassadors program, part of it was trying to think about, all right, how am I going to pace this over the course of a class? What are the things that I need to have prepared ahead of time? And so they kind of compile all of this information together. And so again, I think it helps students to recognize that there is action and multiple factors that go into things. I also have found that the basis that CFR provides is very adaptable. So the kind of schedule that we have here at Jesuit Dallas doesn't always lend itself to multiple days because I often can go multiple days without seeing my students because of our rotating block schedule. And so I have to sometimes adapt the simulations, but because they're such a good foundation, the adaptability is very useful. There's also, although I didn't show you in the lesson plans, there are also some grading rubrics. So depending on what kind of, you know, grading system you all are working with, those are also very adaptable to if you're learning targets or other sorts of formats, it can be very helpful and is adaptable. In thinking about our conversation today, I also thought about a couple of things that I think dovetail very well with the Global Scholars Program and Certificate. The first is, as you saw, there are many resources that are available. I can envision as a part of a requirement or as a part of the program at an individual school, creating a portfolio of simulation participation. And I guess what I mean by that is if in a junior year, students were participating in a class that was a world history class or a US history class, perhaps participation in some simulations build on a portfolio over time so that in their senior year, you know, they have compiled lots of different roles, potentially even experiencing simulations from different country perspectives that might be a point of reflection for a capstone project. So I do think that the wealth of resources may be a useful thing over a multi-year certificate program. And then my other thought was, you know, as different schools adopt different certificate requirements, some of these simulations in particular, I think would lend itself to a multi-school simulation. Obviously, there's logistical issues, coordination, time zones and whatnot, but it, I think, could be a way to bring together different programs to be able to have students get to interact with other students who have similar interests, because certainly, you know, here at Dallas Jesuit, we've got a good, you know, chunk of students that are interested in global events, but I think there's some benefit to them knowing that they are not alone and that there are other students from other schools that are also interested. And so I could see, you know, some of these simulations providing a good opportunity for some inter-school dialogue over these issues as well. So that's my experience with CFR and some ways in which I think it definitely overlaps with the good work that you all are doing with the Global Scholars programs as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions either about my own participation or about the resources that CFR provides.